Thanks for checking out this video, and if you stick around till the end, you will have watched the whole thing.
Geekville Radio.
One of the things that some fans seem to get very passionate over is in Return of the Jedi, Luke's plan to save Han Solo. But they seem to be poking fun at the idea that this was all an intricate plot, like somehow sending the droids in as a gift and then Chewie getting captured and then Leia getting captured. And that was somehow the steps of the plan. Those weren't planned steps. They were contingents. It wasn't a needlessly complicated plan one step at a time. There were several contingency plans. There was a plan A, B, C. But since all these contingencies, the what ifs, and explaining those what ifs would take up screen time, as far as the story execution, it is much more suspenseful, showing it the way they did. In this day and age, if it was a Disney Plus series, yeah, we could have had Luke and Leia and all the characters getting their hologram Zoom calls together to go over the plan for Jabba's base and where things are hidden, blah, blah, blah. But it's a 2-hour movie in 1983. So with all that said, I will present to you what I believe were the different contingency plans that Luke devised to save Han from Jabba. We'll start with Plan A. Plan A was whatever Lando and Chewbacca originally planned to do at the end of Empire Strikes Back. I think it's a pretty safe bet that if Lando and Chewie were able to intercept Boba Fett and free Han themselves and gotten them out on their own, they would have done that. But as we all know, Han wound up on display in Jabba's palace. And given that a crime lord's base would have tight security, tons of henchmen, possibly booby traps and all that stuff, Lando and Chewie probably could not have pulled off that heist themselves. So instead of trying to do it on their own, they go to Plan B. Lando joined Jabba's ranks as a minion and served as a point man for the heroes. He probably fed them intel from inside the place. Jabba's palace was basically a fortress. And something like that is going to take time, not only because Lando would have to learn the layout of the place, but he would also have to earn the trust of Jabba's minions. So over the next several months, if not a year, Lando gathered information about Jabba's palace, how things were done, and that was Plan B. Luke sending in the droids to make his bargaining pitch. It's pretty obvious Luke did not tell 3PO that he was going to be quote-unquote gifting him to Jabba. Because while 3PO's mechanical heart is in the right place, I don't think he's very competent when planning a heist. Whereas R2-D2 is competent in helping plan a heist. I think he's proven that. R2 probably knew everything. Obviously, he knew about the barge and when to launch Luke's lightsaber into the air. We'll get to that in a minute. But Plan B, I honestly do believe, had involved bargaining to Jabba. And had Jabba accepted this offer from Luke, they would have gone that route. Because while crime bosses are evil, another safe thing to say about the Jedi is they avoid bloodshed when possible. Luke was taking these great lengths to get Han away from there without having to resort to violence. There probably would have been a plan to get our R2 or 3PO back, and I have no problem believing that Luke might have kept his end of whatever bargain was made. Jedi are honorable after all. Since Jabba refused the offer, that brings us to Plan C. Leia disguised herself as the bounty hunter Bausch. I don't know how long that is supposed to be in that name. So anyway, Leia disguised herself as a bounty hunter to free Han and to sneak him out, basically giving Chewbacca as a bounty, using whatever details Lando had provided them with. This is also, again, something 3PO probably didn't know about. He probably didn't know that was Leia under the mask, and I'm willing to bet R2 probably did. Again, Lando probably could have gotten the droids to safety had this plan worked, because remember, Chewie tells Han about Luke's plan when Han gets thrown into the prison cell with Chewie. So Chewie knew what was up, and he knew what the future contingency plans were, but Jabba being smart, he figured that this quote-unquote bounty hunter was a phony. Obviously, there was that big party going on with the music or Lopty Neck or Jedi Rocks, whatever version you watched. There was a lot of partying, probably a lot of booze going around. A lot of people passed out. A lot of monsters and critters and aliens probably soiled their pants laying there on the floor. Had to smell worse than just about any outhouse you've been to. But Jabba still waited for Leia to show herself, and then he captured her as his biggest catch to date, you might say. I know that part of this plan is that Jabba waited until Leia had already freed Han. Maybe it's possible he was just waiting for her to actually show her hand or to see what she was actually up to. But I think it's also possible if Jabba was looking at the big picture, he had Han Solo already, and now he's getting Solo's friends. Look longer term here. Granted, he didn't know about Lando at this point, but he got Han, then he got the droids, then he got Chewbacca, and now he's got Leia. Well, really, there's only one left. He probably figured that it was only a matter of time before Luke himself shows up. And hey, then he can watch them all die, all of his friends together in the Sarlacc pit. And he's probably getting to the point now where he would have enjoyed killing them all at once rather than just simply having Han lay on his wall. So Leia's captured. That moves to Plan D. Luke himself barters with Jabba in person. Obviously, he tried the mind trick. That failed. Again, I think he was sincere. He would have preferred that Jabba accept a barter and avoid any bloodshed, but he didn't. And that's what led to what we saw. It's also possible that Luke underestimated how hard it would be to fight his way out because he went for a blaster instead of having R2 toss him his lightsaber inside Jabba's palace. We already knew that R2 had the lightsaber. As to why Luke waited to spring his plan, which I guess you could say is Plan E, I can't say for sure, but I think from a storytelling point of view, it's not unreasonable to conclude that he was waiting until Jabba and his minions were at their most cocky and most overconfident to spring his plan. He waited until the bad guys actually thought they had won and they're full of themselves, they're gloating, and yeah, then he springs his plan, and it has that element of surprise. Not to get off on a tangent, but I think Luke has this similar approach at the end of the movie when he confronts the Emperor. Luke exploited Jabba's ego. The difference is Palpatine was too smart for that.
Your overconfidence is your weakness.
Your faith in your friends is yours.
So what worked at the beginning of the movie didn't work at the end. Plus, in the desert, there's more space around, probably fewer enemies to deal with because you're not within the confines of the palace. Again, Lando and R2 probably traded intel, so they knew the layout of the place. They might have even known where the Sarlacc pit was. Luke could have planned with Chewie sometime between fighting the Rancor pit and taking a trip to the Sarlacc. So that's what I have from thinking about this on and off over the years. I do believe other aspects of the plan weren't explained, again, because it would have taken up screen time. And George Lucas was notorious for cutting things out that weren't crucial to the story. And I think that's why the plan wasn't laid out ahead of time. And I just think it was more entertaining seeing it the way it was in real time. Luke even said on the sail barge, I got a plan for everything. And I think that's all we audience members needed to know. So that's my brain dump on Luke's Return of the Jedi rescue plan. I do think it fits. It's not overly complicated. It wasn't silly. There weren't plot holes. Things just weren't laid out word for word ahead of time. And I think that's why some of the younger folks in the fandom might have had trouble understanding the plan.
Back in my day, we used to walk uphill both ways through the snow and rain.
We just figured it was a plan. We didn't see it laid out beforehand, and that's fine. So this has been Geekville Radio. Definitely let us know what you think.